So today's story is here and it's going to educate you, take something away from it, right? And make sure that you share it with the masses. People must learn, we must develop, we must get this information. Listen, today's story is about Anonymous's dad's decision making. So Anonymous's dad made a decision thinking he was protecting the interests of his children, right? But then it turned out the decision was not as wise. And they ended up being homeless after the dad died. And you're going to understand this. And I'm sure you're like, why are these stories all about homelessness, etc.? Well, I want you to get this. These stories, most of them lead to legal consequences, which lead to financial losses, which includes a home and many other things. But the most vital thing often is the home, which grants protection and, safety and security for people being left behind. But because of the decisions made, loss of a home. So let's get into Anonymous's story. But before we do so, in case you're new here, my name is Yolanda Nyengeza. I'm an attorney by profession and I practice here in Johannesburg, South Africa. Listen, it's good to have you here. At the Legal Detour, we talk about people's experiences here. That's it. So that you can learn from it and understand how the law operates when it comes to certain issues. So let's get into the discussion. So this is a very interesting story. So I'm going to need you to pay careful attention because we're not using names, but we're using relationships here, right? That's going to be best because that's how Anonymous wants it. Now, this is how the story goes. I need to sip my tea here. So this is how the story goes. So Anonymous says, my mother and my dad were boyfriend and girlfriend when they had us, me and my sibling. But when I was 5 years old, my dad said, nope, it's enough playing this kind of relationship. We need to take it to the next level. Let's get married. Anonymous's mother agrees. It's time. Now, apparently before Anonymous's dad tied the knot with Anonymous's mother, he decided that he was going to remove ownership of immovable properties out of his name to his mother's name. Apparently, he said he was doing this to safeguard his interests and the interests of his children or something to that effect. So he literally did this, obviously, because he's not married to Anonymous's mother. He didn't even have to notify her. And according to Anonymous, the mom did not know until later in the marriage when she, started inquiring about certain things. And then she found out that Anonymous's dad does not own the property that they live in and the other property that they are collecting rent from, which was also a property of Anonymous's dad. Not a problem. So life goes on. Anonymous says, no, we're living fine. No one is disrupting us because according to Anonymous, her dad and his mother, whom he moved the property to or properties to, they had an understanding. They knew what was going on. And the siblings also knew. Nobody got involved. No stress. But here's the thing now. Anonymous's dad got sick. Anonymous's dad died. So they bury him, right? And then continue with life. So when he died, the only thing he had in his name, there was a car and some money that he had in his bank account. So Anonymous and her mother and her sibling, then they got all of that, right? But the houses, obviously, because they were not under Anonymous's dad's name, nothing happened, nothing changed, but their lives continued. Now, after the death of Anonymous's dad, she says you could see that there were changes in the demeanor now. Because remember, there's this one property and the one other one that my dad also had, which he was collecting rent from. The other one, which was being rented out, you could see that the family of Anonymous's dad was trying to get a hold of it, saying that we're supposed to collect rent there. But then Anonymous says her grandmother was someone who you could say was honorable. So she was like, lay off, let them continue as is, because that's exactly how my son would have wanted things. So life continued. Also, another issue that came up, Anonymous's mom wanted to do something, some form of improvement on the property itself. So then they tried to apply to the municipality for plans to be approved, but the municipality was like, we need someone who's an owner here. Who are you? You've got no relation when it comes to this property. So these things came up from time to time that, okay, there's a problem here. But then life would always go on. Now, here's the thing where everything changed. Grandmother passed away. The owner of the houses passed away. Forget about the person who bought the properties. The owner of the properties passed away. Now, the children of Anonymous's grandmother now went to the master's office to report their estate. Everything had to be listed. We're talking the properties, we're talking every other thing that the grandmother owned. Obviously, the grandmother also had another property which she was living in, which was her own. But now that she had passed away, we're counting both of these properties, which Anonymous's dad had given to his mother, and also, the mother's own properties. It was a mess. Now, when everything was taken to the master, it was clear as daylight that the siblings of Anonymous's dad had to share everything, including the house that Anonymous and her mother were living in. Do you hear the story? Are you with me on the story? Let's continue. So that's when the problem started, because now the siblings could not care less about what arrangement was in existence, based on what, whose interest was being protected. The fact of the matter was, their mother had died. And since the mother had died, it was time now to do what? To share the properties. Who bought what is irrelevant here. Anonymous says, right now, as I'm speaking to you, we have moved out of that house. She says, we tried sticking it out for a couple of years, but the law was not on our side, because it was clear what was done here. We had no interest in that property. All because my dad wanted to protect this property from my own mother, not knowing that he is actually depriving us of a future home. She says right now we are in a situation of squatting because of what my dad did. Did you get the story? This is why I always say, when it comes to such decisions, legal decisions, the mere fact that you have to go and meet a legal practitioner to say, change something, that has dire consequences. Because imagine the process, papers aside, this is taken to the deeds office, a government office that registers properties, and they're instructed to change the ownership to reflect another human being. That's a legal decision with legal consequences. Could Anonymous's dad not have asked further questions about this and the implications of such a decision? Because there were so many options that were available at his disposal. So I'm just wondering why he opted for this particular decision. For example, there's so many things that he could have done here. One, he could have gotten married out of community of property with Anonymous's mother. If the issue was that he doesn't want her to benefit or have ownership of his things, because a marriage out of community of property separates the ownership of your assets. So if I own assets and my husband has assets, we have different assets. I can never say my husband's home that he solely owns is also mine, because we're married out of community of property. And if he dies and has a will saying that he's giving everything to his kids, I can't have a claim on that, because this was not a joint estate. Unless, of course, he puts me in his will and I get something. But other than that, it's not I'm not meant to get anything. I'm going to keep my own things. Anonymous's dad could have done this. Is there a reason he probably did not explore this? I have so many questions. The other thing that Anonymous's dad could have done is literally establish an entity we call a trust. What is a trust? So a trust is this little, haven of an entity that houses properties with the intention of preserving them or protecting them from creditors, right? Or ensuring that a family does not squander anything that a person has left behind. Also to ensure that it lasts for generations and generations. So Anonymous's dad had in his mind that I don't want my things to be taken by my spouse, because the interest, probably in his mind, he was like, I want only my kids and their kids to get access to this. No marital involvement. By placing it in a trust and making his children the beneficiaries, nothing would have enabled Anonymous's mom to claim anything that he placed in the trust. Meaning the properties, if they were there, Anonymous's mother would not have been able to claim them. So you can see there's already protection. But he decided he's going to take ownership of those properties away from himself to his mother's name. For some reason, people think that moving these properties to their family members is like, it's not a big deal. It's an arrangement. We understand each other. The Lord does not operate on the premise of understanding. Now that he passed away first, do you see what happened? Now that the grandmother also passed away, Anonymous's grandmother, do you see what happened? The Lord did not say there was an understanding. Understanding out the window. The siblings came down to claim what was due. So this is a lesson to you and I. I only presented you with two options. There's so many options. There's even options that we can, mix together to try and work things out for you, depending on why you want to make a certain decision. Pivotal is that you need to inquire first, not go to legal practitioners with a decision in mind, because in most instances, some of them will not question your decision making. They will just do as you have instructed. So very critical. What happened here? Kids lost the home because the dad thought he was protecting their interests, not knowing that he was actually compromising their interests, all in the name of trying to deprive the mother from having access to his own assets, a mother who was also his wife. But now who ended up getting the properties? Who's currently benefiting from those properties? His own siblings. Was that the plan? Initially, it was not. But the law took its place and things moved in that particular manner. So I hope you're learning something from this. Share it with the people that think that this is, a suitable option. Blindly so. Always understand implications. Ask questions, then make decisions. When it comes to legal decisions, there's no such thing as an understanding. There's no such thing as we are family. People get to know their rights and they exercise them. End of story. Anonymous, thank you for sharing this story with us today. I'm sure it was a painful one, but definitely a learning curve for other people who are also thinking about this option. Listen, my name is Yolanda Nyengeza, and this was the Legal Detour. And what do we say? Prevention is always better than cure. This situation could have been prevented, but unfortunately it wasn't. And by the time this problem presented itself, it was way too late. We will see you on the next episode when we talk about somebody else's experience. Do share your own experiences if you want people to know about them and to also help them, because you wouldn't want other people to face the same things that you have also faced. So we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.